As I comfortably and close the eyes. Put our attention on the silence that exists there, always deep in the mind. Connect with that silence. Become the silence. You are the silent witness. From this perspective of the silent witness, listen to the words of the Yoga Vasishtha. Book 4, Chapter 15, continuing with verse 21. See how happily this body is sleeping in the forest, free from all its doubts and desires in the world, liberated from the network of its fantasies. The restlessness of the apish mind disturbs and troubles the body and is hurled down by excitation, like a tall tree uprooted from its bottom. This body, free from the impulses of the mischievous mind, is sleeping in its highest and perfect joy, and is quite released from the jarring turmoil of the world, clashing like the mingled roaring of lions and elephants, fighting with each other. Every desire is a fever in the bosom, and the group of our errors is like the mist of autumn. Mankind has no release from these except by the dispassion of their minds. Those who have had the high-mindedness to lay hold on the tranquility of their minds have gone beyond the bounds of worldly enjoyments. It is by my good fortune that I came to find this body of mine resting in these woods without its troublesome mind, and freed from all its tribulations and feverish anxieties. The Rama said, Venerable sage, who is versed in all knowledge, you have already described Shukra's passing through many births in different shapes and feeling all their casualties of good and evil. Why did he have so much regret for his body begotten by Brigu, in disregard of all other bodies? And the pains and pleasures which attended upon them. Vasishtha answered, Rama, the other bodies of Shukra were merely creations of his imagination. But that of Bhargava the son of Brigu, was the actual one, produced by the merit of his earlier acts. This was the first body with which he was born by the will of his maker, being formed in the form of subtle air, then changed into the shape of wind. Wind entered into the heart of Brigu in the flux, or vital and circulating breath. Being joined in time with the semen, formed the germ of Shukra's body. The person Shukra received the Brahman sacraments and became his father's associate. Till at last he was reduced in the form of a skeleton in the course of a long time. It was because this was the first body that Shukra obtained from Brahma the Creator that he lamented so much for it. Though dispassionate and devoid of desire as Shukra was, yet he sorrowed for his body according to the nature of all being born of flesh. This is the way of all flesh, whether it be the body of a wise or unwise man. This is the usual custom of the world, whether the person was mighty or not. Those acquainted with the course of nature, and those who are ignorant of it, like brutes and beasts, are equally subject to the course of the world, bound in the net of fate and liable to grief and sorrow. The wise and the unwise are on an equal footing with respect to their nature and custom. Only the difference in desire distinguishes one from another. The lack of desires, or the bondage to desires, is the cause of their liberation or bondage in this world. Lack of desires is the great aim that distinguishes the great from the mean-mindedness of the base. As long as there is a body, there is the feeling of pleasure and pain. But the mind that is unattached to and unaffected by them makes itself show wisdom. Even great souls are seen to feel happy and pleasure and become sorrowful in matters of pain, showing themselves as wise in their outward appearance circumstances. The shadow of the sun is seen to shake on water, but not so the fixed sun itself. So the wise are moved in worldly matters, though they are firm in their faith in God. As the unmoved and fixed sun seems to move in its shadow on the wave. So the wise man who has rid himself of worldly concerns still behaves like the unwise. He is free, who has the freedom of his mind, although his body is held in bondage. But he labors in bondage whose mind is enslaved by error, though he is free in his body. Feelings of the mind cause unhappiness, misery, liberty, and bondage. Just like the flames of the fire cause light. Therefore, conform yourself with the custom of the society in your outward conduct. But remain indifferent to all worldly concerns in your inner mind. Remain true to yourself by giving up your concerns in the world, but continue to discharge all your duties in this world by the acts of your body. Take care of the inner sorrows, bodily diseases, and the dangerous whirlpools and pitfalls in the course of your life. Do not fall into the black hole of selfishness, which gives the soul its greatest anguish. Mind, O lotus-eyed Brahma, that you mix with nothing and let nothing mix with you. Be of a purely enlightened nature and rest in your inner soul. Think in yourself the pure and holy spirit of Brahma, the universal soul and maker of all, the tranquil and uncreated all, and be happy forever. If you can rescue yourself from the great gloom of the individual ego and arrive at the state of pure indifference to all objects, you will suddenly become great in your mind and soul and be the object of universal veneration. Chapter 16. Shukra's original body is brought back to life. Proceeds to continue. The god Rama interrupted Shukra's long lamentation and addressed him in words that sounded as deep as the roaring of a cloud. Yama said, "Now, Shukra, cast off your body of the devotee at the Samanga River and enter this dead body in the manner of a prince entering his palace. You shall perform austere penance with this firstborn body, and by virtue of that, you shall become the teacher of the Daitya race of giants. Then, at the end of the great Kalpa, you shall leave your mortal body forever as one casts off a faded flower. Having attained the state of living liberation by merit of your prior acts, you shall continue as the teacher of the leader of the great Asura demons forever." So what is happening here? This is very interesting. Shukra is being given an opportunity to continue in his physical body until he achieves Brahman consciousness. He achieved a lower state of enlightenment, moksha level 1 or 2, and then left the body and went into the celestial realms as an ascended master. And there he made more mistakes. He became more involved again in the illusory world in the celestial realms. Then he found himself once again in the cycles of reincarnation. So we have to be very careful that we achieve Brahman consciousness while still in this physical body. We live in a world in Kali Yuga that's very beautiful, but it's just a shadow of the beauty of the celestial realms. It is the beauty of the world that creates the attraction to it. And the attraction to it can create the fatal embedding in this world. Once you become embedded in the illusion, then you're lost back in the cycles of birth and death. Doesn't matter that you once had moksha level 1, 2, or 3. All that is lost. So we must strive for Brahman consciousness while in this physical body. Now, some people, when they hear this, they say, well, if that's the case, I give up. I don't think I'll ever make it. And it is a daunting task, but not an impossible one. And if that's their reaction, then they won't make it. It takes a lot of determination. But it is definitely possible. And at this time, everything is in our favor. Everything is lined up very perfectly to make this indeed possible. We have been granted this boon, the same boon that Yama granted to Shukra. We will be able to keep this body as long as needed to achieve Brahman consciousness. Shukra had this same wonderful opportunity. We have been blessed with the gifts of Krishna, unbelievable gifts of Krishna. He has given us everything we need to achieve Brahman consciousness. We will have an extended life based on the Krishna C60 Amrit and the Satyukaya Kalpa program. We have a guru, a being established in Brahman Consciousness, who is watching out for us personally and directly to ensure that this is going to happen. So the most incredible of opportunities is here for each one of us. Let us continue with established in the silent witness. And begin the Trimana Sanyama practice on the esoteric Mahamantra, and balance all the karmic traces that have been activated and enlivened by today's reading. Jai Gurudev.